Hey guys, Kale the Quick here, back with Omen RPG, my space trading RPG that I'm making with the Godot game engine. I'm going to go into some of the details about the skyboxes that I'm trying to make and improve. So this is the default one, and it is just a basic panoramic material, panorama sky material with a texture on it. And it's okay. I didn't get a panoramic sky texture, so it does do a little bit of pinching the north and south poles, but looking around, it is fine. It does get a little bit splotchy because it's a JPEG, and I believe I can try changing that to a PNG, see if that changes anything. Not a lot. Anyway, some of the cameras, when they zoom in, it'll be even splotchier. So I did want to try and find a way around that and to make a better one. And again, since I'm a huge nerd, if I could procedurally generate it and then change it for every system you visit, so every planet actually has different stars, I think that would be really cool. So I do have a technique that I normally use, and I usually do that over in Blender. There's the default cube or shape there. And these are the stars, and it's very simple. It's just a noise texture to a very fine grain detail. Yeah, I had it up at about 200. Going through a color ramp, and the color ramp takes that noise and then kind of tweaks it down to be a nice star field. And I usually, again, that's really simple. It's just two nodes. And I usually kick that up a notch by adding another noise, a color ramp for black body radiation, which Blender can actually convert it directly in there to black body radiation based on the temperature, but not my thing. And tweak it, and that just changes the colors a little bit. It's very subtle, but I do like it. And if I change the scale there to misalign the two noise textures, you can see more oranges and such in there. So you can tweak all that and get a nice little custom sky. So this uses 3D noise. That's what they have here in Blender, and I do not have access to that over in Godot. So one of my first attempts was this one, and honestly, it's looking pretty good. So we'll go over here, see if a shader material and a skybox, and it is quite simple. I'm taking the I direction node, and again, very, very simple, just having it go through a procedural texture there, and we do get a ring around there because we are just projecting it along this one axis. So it does look okay, kind of in this direction. And you see there's no node in here for a gradient, and that's because it's actually built into the noise over here. So again, just taking noise, and it's very fine detailed noise. We have options here down in our noise, but a lot of the control comes with this gradient. Now, one problem that I noticed with this was when you do it through this gradient, this is actually used in generating the texture. So if you had a really low texture, let's see, 256 resolution there, you could still get some splotchiness. Though this does look okay. Yeah, but it does get a bit pixelated. So 512 is the default, and again, that is okay, but it gave us this odd ring problem going around the side there. So my next approach was to, well, it didn't go very well. But again, we're going procedural stuff, and it did get a little bit complicated, and let me see if I can actually show you what's doing here. So I tried to do a multi-directional projection. All right, so there's my output here. So it looks like it's just these nodes that are being used right now. Got a lot of their stuff going in here. So this one, again, we take the I direction, which gives us these coordinates for the direction that the eye would be looking in at that point. And what are we doing here? Yeah, so we are deliberately kind of sectoring it off into these sections here, where, recall in the previous one, it did look okay going along that one direction, but it looked bad around there. So just replace it with different star textures, right? So we have one in that direction, one for our horizon, get an angle, and another one for that direction. And let us go through, and we remap that to a gradient to try and control how much was getting through. Oops. Color. Where are we going? Yeah, and so there's our texture, the base texture, and we're just using the texture to generate noise, and then we go through and have our star texture elsewhere to convert that. But we weight these down a little bit to try and get them to not be as heavy over here. And I believe if we go in here and modify this gradient, yeah, so you can kind of see what's going on there. And let's see what happens when it's all added together. It looks okay. You can kind of see different sectors forming there. And again, if we go to the gradient, you can kind of see what I was trying to do. It was a little bit of a faux cube map type of thing. So we have our stars being projected, and we're trying to make it so that where they merge, they kind of still have the same range and sum up to 1. And I was hoping that since this is going to be tweaked back down into, stars, that we would be able to find some sort of happy medium. That was not the case with this one, and it's just really not adding up together very well. You could probably find some ground in there, but there's also this size-based problem and a lot of twinkling. So if I stay still, this probably doesn't do very well with the YouTube video compression. If I stay still, nothing happens. If I pan left and right, it stays the same. But if I start rotating, there's a lot of twinkling in the back as things that were one round, one direction or the other. Now, the final iteration, what I have now, doesn't entirely get rid of that twinkling problem, but it does look pretty good. And if I am able to close that, if the screen has an even detail, it looks okay. So let's see what we're doing in this one. So this one it does have that black body radiation thing that's going through. It doesn't look like it's contributing a lot of color at the moment, and I'll have to debug that later. But what I am doing here, if I can figure it out, I am breaking it, starting with, I believe, not the I direction, but yeah, this is just the basic sky coordinates. So 0, 0 at the top, 1, 1 down at the bottom, and then all of the various positions and colors in between. So I'm going through and breaking that down and turning it into 4 sectors around the world. So there's some at the bottom and some at the top, but importantly, I have my kind of 4 nice square areas that I'll be able to use and remap like a cube map. And let's see, going forward, there, and I use some masking to cut off the top and the bottom. I think that was renormalizing it, because in some of the multiplication there, I changed my range from 0 to 1 to 0 to 0.5, something like that. And then we go through and use that to sample the textures, which gives us our noise, but it also, we have a problem, pure white, at the top and the bottom. So, yeah, this one I use as a mask to clear that off there. And now that does leave the top and the bottom, which is a problem. So down here, again, you can't read that, but I start with the I direction. I go through and try to map that. Yeah. Yeah, so top and bottom, and this gives us our nice stretchy band around the corners there, but we just multiply it by the inverse of our other mask so that it just shows up on the top and bottom. So there we go, top and bottom, and then we add those two together and get some reasonably even distribution of noise. Now, the specific noise texture that I'm using here, let's see if I can find, noise texture. It is actually not set to be seamless. And I'm not sure why, but for some reason when I set it to be seamless, I can actually see the seams more with this technique. So let's see if that holds true still. So we have our stars here, and we still have our texture selected. If I change it to seamless, it's tough to make out. And honestly, it looks fine with this one. But I was having better results with that previously, and since the noise is kind of being remapped there, nothing too bad come out of it. So I have that go through the black body radiation there. Yeah, so this would be the color of the star at that position. And go through there. Or it shouldn't matter. No, that isn't. All right, for some reason the color isn't getting through. As I said, I'll have to get that too. And then I have a little brightness adjustment there that will do nothing, apparently. All right. Oh. Didn't have it plugged in. There we go. So, little brightness adjustment for dimming the stars. I can expose that as a parameter, maybe have it come fading in, that type of thing. But, yeah, that was 1.5 before. And again, if I have it really squished up, you can see it's just completely dark in the center there. I'm not sure what's causing that. And I think if I tweak this gradient, I can get, rid of that very easily. Oh, okay, there's the color. It is there. It's just not very saturated. But yeah, so that's one of the peculiarities of this approach that I'm doing here, is this kind of black void. But the game's about the dark vastness of space, so, I'll call it good. Yeah, and when it's square, I'm getting better results as well. But, yeah, that is how I made a nice and reasonably even procedurally generated Starfield. It does not have a very high cost to it. I'm able to run it on mobile without any seeming difference from other techniques that I've tried. But yeah, that's a rundown of how I got that to work. Kale the Quick, thanks for checking it out. Don't die.